So guys, Access Holdings PLC just did a rights issue of, one new ordinary share for every 2 ordinary shares that you've held as at June 7, 2024 at 19 naira 75 kobo. Now, if all I've said just flew over your head, that means you must watch this video to the end, because we're going to be breaking down each of the things that are contained in the Access Holdings PLC rights issue folder that I've downloaded here on my very, very sweet laptop. And we're going to talk about what a rights issue is, how that affects you as a shareholder, how people benefit from a rights issue in terms of the investors and the owners of the company as well. So stick around, let's go through it number by number. So let's start with what a rights issue is. A rights issue is a right to purchase or own a share. And you have to have already had the share before for you to access the right to pursue or purchase rather in this particular share. So let's take an example. Let's assume you are Access Holdings in this case, but what you sell is maybe pizza. We can call it pizza. So now you want to distribute pizza, right? But you're Access Holding. Now this pizza represents shares in your company. So anybody that has a particular slice of this pizza has a slice in your company and can benefit from whatever it is that your company is doing. So when your company makes profit, anybody will get this slice of pizza, the person will follow share for that profit, including the loss. When your company makes a loss, they will also feel the pressure from it. Now, let's assume that this pizza has 10 slices, right? And these 10 slices have gone to 10 different people. Now you want to raise additional capital. You want to raise more money. You want to expand your operations, right? You can then come to these people that already own shares in your company and say, you know what, for each slice of pizza you have, I will give you another slice of pizza because I like you and I like your money. So these are people that you already have a relationship with. They are your shareholders in your company. And then because they already have some part of your company, you are willing to make, you guys now trust each other over time. You are willing to take more of their money to boost your capital base and then do what it is that you need to do in your business. So that's exactly what a rights issue is. Access Holdings, in this case, they have a flagship company, Access Bank. So we all know Access Holdings, maybe we don't all know, but Access Holdings has several other companies under its international branches and companies that they have under Access Holdings. But their flagship, Access Bank, what they want to do now is they want to boost their capital base. So instead of doing a public offer like what Fidelity did a couple of weeks ago and are still doing, what Access Bank has decided to do is that those that we already have as shareholders already right now, let us now ask them to, hey, if you have 1 share or if you have 2 shares, we're going to give you something extra and then collect it at a discounted price. And this is super important. We'll be seeing it going forward, but basically that's what the rights issue is. You already have shares. We want to give you additional shares and take some money so that we can boost our capital base. And we're going to do this at a discounted price from the shares that you are currently holding. There are several reasons why a listed company, a PLC, would go ahead and issue or do a rights issue, right? And the trend, especially in like investor circles, will be that, oh, the company is in trouble. Oh my God, they are just trying to raise extra money too. But a lot of the times it's not the case, right? So there could be like a recapitalization event, or we're trying to do an expansion, or we need to increase our liquidity base. And these are things that can actually bolster business activities in that particular PLC. And so, yeah, I have the circular here that Access Holdings issued, for the rights issue. And I went through it, and what I can see there is mostly business expansion stuff, beefing up cybersecurity stuff, expanding their branches, etc. and so forth, and then SME loans and all that kind of activities. So it's important to know that for this particular rights issue, while yes, it's going to increase their capital base, etc., it's basically business activities that they are looking at, and this is stuff that is important to know as an investor. That's why they say do your research. Do your research in stuff like this. They are doing a rights issue. They've issued a circular. Go ahead, read it, see what it is that they want to use the additional money for. I, as an investor in Access Bank, which I actually am, I'm then motivated that, oh, the people that I'm investing in, Uncle Igan Group, are actually motivated to go ahead and expand their business across, some of the circles that they are looking at, especially in the terms of SME lending, which I am personally happy to go into. So definitely I'm going to be getting my own rights issues And then, so those are the things that investors need to make investing decisions. And these are some of the reasons why PLCs go ahead to issue additional rights to existing shareholders. Now, every rights issue has opening date, closing date, and qualification date. Let's start from qualification date. A qualification date is, remember we spoke about rights issue being rights that are issued to already existing shareholders. So that means as a shareholder, you must have already been holding shares of Access Holdings. And for this particular rights issue, the qualification date is 7 June. So if you've had shares of Access Bank up to 7th of June, you're eligible for this. If not, maybe next time. But 7th June is the qualification date, and that's what the qualification date means. The date before which or at which you must be holding the shares to qualify for whatever it is. So even dividends have qualification dates. So in this case now, if we are to switch the example, if you do not hold Access Bank shares before 7th June, you can't qualify for dividend. We're talking about a rights issue now. So if you do not hold Access Holdings, so they've changed from Access Bank to Access Holdings. If you do not hold Access Holdings shares before 7th June, then unfortunately you can't qualify for this very, very romantic rights issue that they are doing. Now, the next thing is the opening date, which is the date that the rights issue opens. And that's 8th July. So we're doing this on the morning of 9th July. So that was yesterday. So the rights issue opened yesterday. But good news is that it's closing all the way in August. So August 14th, it will close. And so you have this length of time to establish whether or not you want to purchase the rights issue and then exercise your rights, to that offer. So a rights issue also, we must note that it is not by force. Nobody is holding your neck. We're going to see that in the next couple of minutes, what to do when a company that you're holding and you've qualified now does a rights issue for you. But it's super important to know the qualification date, the opening date, which is the date that, hey, we are now ready to share this rights with you as approved by the SEC, and then the closing date, which is the date after which you can no longer exercise these rights that have been availed to existing shareholders. Now let's talk about the price and what is even the rights that they are giving us, right? So I just want to read directly. They said, on the basis of 1 new ordinary share for every 2 ordinary shares held as at June 7, 2024. Now what this means is if you had 1,000 shares in Access Holdings, right, as at June 7th, 2024, you have now the right to access rights. This is slightly confusing, but just think about it as additional shares. So you have the right to access additional shares, 500 additional shares. Because what did they say? 1 new ordinary share for every 2 ordinary shares already held. So if you have 1 share of Access Bank, or in this case, if you have 2 shares of Access Bank, you are entitled to, or you have the right, to get 1 additional share of Access Bank. And what they've said is that the additional shares issued, which is the rights, so those additional shares issued now, those are called rights, right? So think of them as, I say rights, right? Crack myself up. So those additional shares that are referred to as rights, Access Bank has said that they are going to be, pari passu with the already existing share. So what that means is anything the already existing share can do, this new one can do it as well, right? If you have, for every 2 that you have, we'll give you an additional 1. As long as you had these 2 on or before the 7th of June, 2024. Now, usually these shares are issued at a discount. So what that means is you bought the shares or you held the shares that you had before 7th of June at, say, 20 Naira. We are now going to give you this additional rights issue at 19 Naira or at 10 Naira or at 12 Naira. So that is the motivation for you to buy, because the price is lower than what you acquired from the existing ones that you have. But in practice, so they must have started this process maybe all the way January, February, March, and then they were just able to come out with this now. The truth of the matter is that the current price as at today is about 19 Naira 60 kobo, right? And this issue is going at 19 Naira 75 kobo. But we must also take note that as at the date that is being referred to is sometime in March. which was when the price was doing 24, 25 naira. So in reality, what this rights issue would have then done, especially for people that held it during that time or bought it during that time, would be that you bought an Access Holdings share at 24 naira and you have the right to exercise the rights issue at 19 naira. So it's a sweet deal. You can get it less the price. But for the current price now, somebody that wants to immediately get into this, which you can't because, June 7th qualification date, right? It wouldn't look like a good deal. But guess what? After studying what they are actually going to use these additional funds for, and understanding that in stock investing, for me personally, it's always a long-term approach and a dividend approach. I think that it would be like an excellent deal for me, right? And we also need to understand that generally in the Nigerian exchange, banks, financial institutions, they pay some of the best dividends. So why wouldn't you want to have an additional part if you're given the right to of some of the companies that pay some of the best dividends on the NGX? So the price is 19.75 kobo for already existing shareholders. And if your qualification date is right, you're able to get one new right for 2 existing shares that you already have before the qualification date. Right, so let's go down to proceeds. What do they want to use the additional monies that they're going to raise from this rights issue for? Now, they are offering about 17 billion additional shares, and they want to sell these shares to existing shareholders at 19.75 kobo, which means they are going to get around 350 billion naira additional. And then there are some, charges that they need to pay. So by the time you net off those charges, it comes to about 343 billion. Now, what do they want to use these net proceeds for? And it's all here in the circular. I'll just do a very brief summary on it. So for 15% of the proceeds, they are going to be opening new branches and distribution channels. So they have investments in new branches in Lagos, in PH, in Abuja. They want to do additional ATMs and POS machines, renovations, upgrades. These are things that can bolster business activities and then help to increase the profits. And in fact, they even put the completion period. So they are thinking about 24 months for some of this. So these are changes that you would start seeing in the near term, right? So in another 2 years, if you see an Access Bank branch coming up in Lagos or in Port Harcourt, you shouldn't be surprised, because if you bought the rights issue, that's your money working, right? The next thing that they want to do is IT infrastructure upgrades and development. So they are looking at their cyber security capabilities, and they're also going to be looking at additional investments in their network infrastructure. And about 20% of what they get from the rights issue is going into this. But this has a 3-year timeline, so it's a little bit more long term, and then you should be seeing some of these updates going forward, and you know that that's your rights issue working right there. The most exciting part for me is where 65% goes to, which is local and international business expansion, right? And what they are looking at is lending to corporates, lending to retail business, and lending to SME customers. I think it's super exciting. These are economy stimulating activities, and if you're a finance nerd like me, you know that this is great. If everybody could do this, it would be a nice time. Over 65% of what they receive is going to go into this. And while it is stimulating economy, it's also going to increase and boost the potential profits that they can get from it. So it's a win-win really, and it's like a perfect situation for what finance people always want. Win-win, where the giver and the taker, are both making decisions that can improve, their bottom line at the end of the day. So in a nutshell, what I think is the rights issue, like most rights issues, is always an opportunity for investors. It means that they are trying to keep, they are trying to get more investor loyalty. You guys that have already been with us, let's keep doing business together. It's always a good sign. I also think that in the long term, especially considering dividends, considering appreciation of prices, I feel that the price is okay. I also think that the use of the proceeds is also a very good one for me. There are 3 things that you can do when a rights issue, happens. 1, you can ignore it. I couldn't feel well, I'm not doing it, you should go. And then after the, closing dates, that right has expired. But I don't advise that, because if they are issuing additional shares, what will happen? The ones that you have will be diluted. So something that you held at 15 naira before was the value of 50 naira. because now we've issued additional shares into the pool. That value will now reduce to 45. So I always exercise my rights issues just because of that particular idea. Now, the second thing that you can do is you can actually trade the rights issue. So you don't want to buy it. Maybe you don't have money, you're strapped for cash. You can actually go ahead and this is tradable, by the way, because it says so in the circular. So these rights are actually tradable. So you can go ahead and trade it on the floor of the NGX, and then you can get monies for that. But what will happen is you may not be able to get the, so this is 19.75, right? The value that you may get may be slightly lower, but it's possible to trade it and then get some money from that. The third thing, which is what I am going to do, is actually go ahead, download the forms from my stockbroker, fill it, send it in, and then fully exercise my rights to get those additional shares in Access Holding. If this has been helpful to you, then that means that we have met our goal and objective. You can let us know by leaving a comment. If you like videos like this, ensure to let us know so that we can do more. And if you have Access Holding shares before June 7th, please download the circular first. Second, if you make the decision to buy, talk to your stockbroker, and then please exercise your right to partake in fruitful investments, especially long-term, nice quality investments like this. Thank you.